Hi, this is Paulette from the Magical Needle, and this is a quick tutorial on how to fix a small hole in your fabric, which sometimes happens, especially if you're cutting applique. So I got a request to show how to do this. So what I'm using is Steam Seam Light over here. It's double-sided fusible web, and I put backside of fabric. So what you're going to do is you're going to iron this piece onto the back side of this fabric. And as you can see, I cut the same type of fabric. And this piece, it's same thing, the fusible web is going to go on the front piece. So you're going to cut a little piece on the front piece, because this is going to go underneath on the back side facing up, and this will go on top of the hole facing down. Okay, and the next thing you do is use some applique scissors, or I like to use these green little scissors. These are Karen Buckley scissors, and they're wonderful for cutting fabric. It really helps stopping any fraying. So I iron on the Seam Steam 2 Light on the back side, and then I ironed it on the front side. Now I'm looking at the hole over here, and I want to try to match the same spot over here on the scrap fabric that I'm going to cover, so it looks similar. This is called fussy cutting. So sometimes you may have some fabric where it's not, the design isn't all over, so it's really important to try to find the same piece of scrap fabric, like how you're going to cut it out, to match on top where you're going to cover the hole. So I cut a little piece out, if you could see it, and I already took off the Steam Seam 2 Light piece in the back, and I'm using long nose tweezers to help me with the placement. And you try to cut the shape with your scissors freehand as close to possible. It's not going to be always 100%, but try to get enough so that it covers the hole. So here's a close-up. I put that little piece on top of the hole. I haven't ironed it on yet, but you could see the little gold dots kind of match right in. And now I'm going to iron it with a dry iron. But what I'm going to do first before I iron it is I like to take another piece of scrap fabric, usually just like a piece of plain beige fabric, and I cover it over the hole in this whole area, and then I put the iron on top. This way this piece won't move when I'm ironing it. So this is the piece of fabric I have over it, and then I'm going to put the iron on top of this fabric and just hold it for a couple of seconds. So I ironed on the top piece. It's kind of hard to see because it just fades right in perfectly, and then when you free motion quilt it, you won't see it at all. It's kind of hard to see. You have to really zoom in there to see. And now we're going to do the back side. So this is the back side of the fabric. I always like to put in extra piece just for extra stability. And I'm going to cut this piece out as well, just a little shape. Now, as you can see, I have the sticky part on the top of the fabric, the front side of the fabric. Okay, I already peeled it off. And I'm going to put this facing down, whoops, right on. As you can see, I have the fabric facing down, covering the hole, and now I'm going to iron this as well. And as you noticed, I made this piece a little bigger over the hole. I did that intentionally. You don't have to, but I like to do it just so it gives it extra coverage over the hole. So I iron this piece down, and this is the back of the fabric, which will of course be covered with batting, and no one will see this little area sticking up right there. So I did cut my fabric pieces a little bigger. This way I have plenty of extra wiggle room if, let's say, I cut a piece and I don't like the shape, and then I have more opportunities on the piece of fabric to cut more shapes and find the one that I like. And then what I do is I will then, once it's ready to quilt, I just free motion quilt. I make sure to free motion quilt over this piece. Even if you just want to do your fabric, you're doing lines, just make sure to quilt, let's say, straight over that if you're just going to quilt straight lines and not free motion quilt it. And after that, what else you could do is, if you want to add some rhinestones, if it's an art quilt, I usually will add a rhinestone or something over that. But if not, rarely will you even see the hole. It's almost very difficult, especially once it's free motion quilted. Now, what if you get a piece of fabric that is like this and the hole is right there? So this is when you do some fussy cutting. So I will find another piece of fabric that is a similar spot on it, and then I cut that piece out, and then I put it on top of the piece where the hole is, if there's a hole right here. So that's where it's really important to do fussy cutting. Also, if you're doing striped fabric, the same thing. Get another piece of that fabric, cut that little stripe out and stick that right on top and cover the hole. So I hope this helps, and have a wonderful day.